All right, I'll go ahead and get started then, since we're recording. Or does somebody else want to kick it off?
I'll hop in if you want me to. Hey, everybody, I'm Joy Kruger, and I am the current president of Staff Assembly. And if you're wondering what is Staff Assembly, you're in the right place to find out. We got a great session for you here today, talking all about the different roles and ways that you can get involved in Staff Assembly. So it is a phenomenal organization. If you haven't heard about us yet, we're basically like student government, but for the 45,000 staff of UCLA. So it's a fantastic organization. Not only do we create a bunch of community opportunities for everybody, all staff here on campus, we also advocate on behalf of staff. So all y'all who are particularly non-union folks. So if you're in a union, you have representation that advocates on your behalf. If you're not union, you've got Staff Assembly that's got your back. So things that we've been able to do in the past year that are very exciting. One of them is get an agreement from the president of UC system, President Drake, as well as the Board of Regents for a 4.5% raise for all non-union staff. If you're union, you've been getting raises every year, it's locked in. If you're not union, back in 2020, remember with me, pandemic happened. They're like, we're just not gonna give non-union folks a increase this year because, well, who knows what's gonna happen with the budget. Budget ended up being fine, but we still didn't get that pay raise. So we were able to advocate that we get the 4.5% raise this year to kind of make up for that from a couple of years ago. So those are the sorts of things we're advocating for at a UC-wide level, and then we're also advocating for UCLA staff in particular here on campus. And I'm saying campus, and I mean health side too. Both Anna and myself are on the health side. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Anna. She is our president-elect, so this will be her board next year. So it's going to be a great board. I think we've got a few folks that are going to be returning from last year, so a lot of great folks in the mix, and then looking for some new folks to join in as well. So a lot of great opportunities, and with that, I hand it over to Anna.
Thank you, Joy, and thanks everyone for joining us here today. So I'll start off by describing a little bit of what Staff Assembly is to add to what Joy just presented on. And again, it's a volunteer opportunity, and we're here to build community. Staff Assembly has been organized with staff to help support staff. It was funded back in 1978, and it's supported by the Office of the Chancellor and Campus Human Resources. Through educational, social, and community programs, we foster staff engagement to help support the UCLA's mission. There are various benefits. Some of them are, leadership opportunities. If you've ever wanted to be in a leadership role, but you're not getting it in your office, here's an opportunity to volunteer and be engaged and develop those skills. The opportunity to network. As Joy mentioned, I'm on the health side in addition to Joy being on the health system side. And it's given us an opportunity to get to meet people across the campus that otherwise we wouldn't cross paths with. Personal and professional development. You learn different skills, you get to participate in different committees, you're exposed to others. And also you get to serve on major campus and system-wide committees. And as Joy mentioned, the opportunity for us to advocate for the 4.5% increase. That we had an opportunity this year to have breakfast with the Chancellor and also participated in the visit with the UC President, President Drake, and be able to represent staff. We also sit on different task forces. We have a task force on diversity and equity. I sit on the threat response task force as well, and amongst others. So there's a lot of opportunity to grow and develop. And the opportunity to volunteer, as Joy mentioned, is for non-represented staff, although we have opportunities for represented staff to maybe serve on a committee or help in the non-voting capacity. So we try to engage everyone. So get involved. So here are other ways to add to what I was just saying. You can run for a board position, which is what we're reaching out to you for here today. Voting members must be policy covered staff, which means you do not belong to a union. You can join the engagement surveys task force, apply to be part of other campus committees, the different vice president roles, have committees or work that they do, you can partner up to co-lead with them and participate in things that they're working on. And just be a general volunteer when we have events. Maybe you want to help check people in at a table or other ways of participating. So the timeline, we are presenting you here with an introduction of what Staff Assembly is and hopefully get you excited about it. And we hope to launch the elections by the end of May and start the new board, identify who the new board is and nominations in June and get you started for the July session. So what roles do we have? So the Staff Assembly Executive Board consists of various vice president roles, as you see here: creative production, development, digital engagement, events. The finance vice president role serves a term of 2 years. So I think, Stephen, you're going into your second year this coming year. So there's that position will not be open for the elections, but we want you to be aware of that and maybe partner up with him to learn if it's something you might be interested in. Information systems, outreach programs, records and archives, special projects, strategic communication, wellness, and then we have member at large positions to represent the campus and the health system. They're non-voting roles, but very important roles to really get engaged across the 2 different sides of the campus. Then we get into the president level positions. If you're interested in the president-elect position, just know that that is a 3-year commitment because you're basically a president in training. You get to know about everything and get you ready to take the helm in the president role. And then once you finish your year of being a president, you roll over and become the immediate past president, where you help continue to contribute. So now we're going to kick it off and have each board member tell you a little bit about their role and an opportunity to ask questions at the end. So we'll start off with the Vice President of Creative Production. So Dana, we'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dana Schmitz. I am our Vice President of Creative Production, which I actually took over in February, I believe-ish, someone who was leaving UCLA to do some amazing things. And so for the most part, as you can see on here, it does say design and edit creative pieces supporting Staff Assembly events. So it's pretty easy. I have a form that folks fill out on different dimensions and sizes of what they need. And then we've been working off kind of a branded template, I guess that, I shouldn't say I guess, but that someone had made in prior years, a year or 2 ago, I think. So, but thinking about potentially kind of rebranding that for next year as an option, see what else we could be doing. But for the most part, it's a lot of digital pieces, but I'm happy to answer more information for anyone that might be interested in pursuing this role for next year.
Thank you so much, Dana. One quick question for you that I would love all our board members to share as well. About how much time a week do you spend in your staff assembly role?
Thank you. I would say it probably averages out between like 3 to max 10 hours if it's like I have a lot of requests, but if it's just like for one event, I'll usually take a few hours because I can be a bit of a perfectionist. So thanks, Joy.
All right, now we'll move on to the Vice President of Development. Do we have Joe? I think I saw you.
Hi, yes, I'm Joe Marciniak. I'm VP of Development this year. And I currently work in the Prospect Research Department of Development, and we do fundraising for UCLA across campus. And the VP of Development for Staff Assembly is primarily responsible for identifying fundraising opportunities and coordinating the cultivation and solicitation of those opportunities. So this year I was the primary lead for the Spark campaign, which raised money for staff scholarships. And so that involved a lot of leadership, spearheading, coordinating all of the logistics for the campaign, all of the elements, putting it together into a toolkit for people to use email copy and visual elements for social media. So there was a lot more involvement around that time. It was late November into early December with the actual campaign, but leading up to that, I'd say a good 2 months prep was a lot of involvement. Probably 2 to 5 hours a week during that time, but then it dropped off after the campaign, and it's like you can kind of decide where to go after that. But the overall primary responsibility is fundraising to help coordinate and facilitate that.
Great, thank you. All right, now we'll move on to Esmeralda for digital engagement.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Esmeralda, the VP of Digital Engagement. And so it's the roles, like it sounds, anything digital. So that includes social media. If we have a request from a partner organization that wants us to share on our social media channels or anything that is in that regard. We partner with the VP of Creative Productions quite a lot. So the graphics, that Dana creates are always on our social, which I appreciate because that's not my strong suit. It comes into scheduling and digital engagement. So in the role, it depends on the season of how busy we are. So if we have like 2 lunch and learns a week, we might take anywhere from 2 hours to 3 hours a week. But when we're doing things like the staff picnic or something like that, it could be the day of the event. You can kind of expect to be on social media because you want to do stories and kind of creating that engagement. So it's just really, I've really enjoyed it. It's as much as you want to make with it, playing with different platforms. It's been a nice way to test various tracking. So overall, it sounds pretty simple, but it is a lot to room for growth in the role as well.
Thank you. So now we'll move to the Vice President of Events. Heidi, I think Heidi might be away on vacation. So is there anyone who can jump in here and fill in that gap?
I'll speak to what we do with the VP of events. So we've got some really great events that we put together every year. So there is the Small Business Resource Fair that highlights all the businesses in our neighborhood that are small businesses that we should be supporting. So that's a really great time when it's in person on campus. I don't know if y'all have been to it before, but it's amazing. There's usually lunch. Sometimes it's catered by Jimmy John's or something, and it's free, and you come and there's like Thai iced tea you can have, and you just check out everything, and there's a lot of swag that you get. So it's really fun to do. So if you haven't been, highly recommend. It's usually in about February, so you got a while, mark your calendars. But a really great event. And so this role is filling in, helping on all sides of logistics for this event. So making sure we've got folks, the small businesses participating, making sure we've got the space for it in the John Wooden gym or wherever we decide to have it, usually in there. Those sorts of things. It also does our 5K, which has been a virtual 5K this last couple of years. Maybe we'll go back to in person, maybe not. This new person can decide on that. And then there is also an event that we do sometimes in the spring called Invest in You Summit, which is an amazing conference that does a lot of investing in you. So it's got yoga, it's got speakers on how to be better at leadership, like all of these different things. So this person again would be helping to put together all the logistics day of, working with Joe to figure out sponsorship deals, working with some of our other people, the members at large to say, or the VP of Wellness to say, okay, who do you know that should be featured on this? Kelly or whoever our VP of Outreach is, who else should we bring into this opportunity? So it does, the events person works with a lot of people, both internally on the board and externally. So you'll see on a lot of these other roles, they'll be like, and partners with the VP of events. So if you want to be the head mastermind of all the things, this is a great role for you.
Thank you. Right, next is our VP of Finance. Oops. Stephen, I think I saw you there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Ngao. I'm the VP of Finance at Staff Assembly. And so a little bit about my role, just from a higher level. I guess let me start back and say that So I'm a VP of Finance and Staff Assembly. I also work at the Office of Academic Planning and Budget as a senior financial analyst. And so my role for the university is very much similar with my role as Staff Assembly. And so I help oversee the budget and planning for our annual operations and making sure mostly involved with scholarship award reimbursements and stipend award reimbursements and processing recharges for billing and invoicing. So making sure that we're spending funds accordingly, as we have different fund groups for different categories of spending, as well as making sure that we're collecting and receiving funds or revenue or sales from invoices generated for advertising for newsletter, things of that nature. As you can see on the slide here, most of the systems that I use are basically Brew and Buy, Financial System, Payroll, and Travel Express. Although I think with the pandemic, there wasn't much, at least in my tenure, there wasn't much travel going on or occurring. So that's actually something I'm still getting used to. But for the most part, if you're really interested in seeing how UCLA is very decentralized and how its financial system operates, I think this would be a great role. And as Joy mentioned, or Anna mentioned, one of the two, at the beginning of the presentation, it is a 2-year term. And so I'm coming up at the end of my first year. And so I think one of the main reasons is just because it's not very easy or intuitive understanding how UCLA operates from a financial perspective. It's a very decentralized system. So yeah, that's kind of the nature of the game. But again, it's very fun and engaging, interacting with my peers and board members here as it relates to just making sure the campus has enough support for staff and by staff as it relates to staff assembly. So yeah, feel free to shoot me any questions or comments regarding VP Finance role at Staff Assembly, and I'd be more than happy to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Now we'll move on to Vice President of Information Systems. Danita, is she?
Hi, everyone. I'm the VP of Info Systems, which is basically just the person who runs the Staff Assembly website. So this year I actually had the chance to redesign the whole website. So if you haven't seen it recently, it's basically brand new. So that was a big project for this year, but going forward, you basically would have a lot of freedom in terms of where you would want the design to go. You could work on adding new pages, adding more content, more resources, more images. Basically, there's a lot of freedom in terms of what you can do. And if you're a web developer and there's something that you want to do, or if a site that you can be creative with, this would be a good role for you. I just also in general help with kind of IT technical things. So I help a lot with the newsletter and making sure that everything runs smoothly in terms of sending that out and maintaining the listserv. So you're kind of the technical expertise of the board most of the time.
Thank you. So now we'll move over to the Vice President of Outreach, Kelly.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So VP of Outreach, this is my second year. I'm still undecided, so please, if you're interested, don't let me stop you for running. Because it's been the last 2 years, we haven't done a lot of in-person tabling, but mostly outreach is exactly that. I'm going out to the public and letting campus know what we do. As Joy and Anna both mentioned, we're not just here to have cookies and have lunches. We also advocate for staff at the UC level. And this is another position that's really collaborative. I work with a lot of different folks on different events. Somebody will say, hey, can you get me the point people for these groups? And I'll get it. Pretty much anything that has to do with being the liaison between Staff Assembly and the greater campus community. And tabling, we did get to do a couple of live table events that I love, and we gave out swag and met folks. So really, it's just about working with the rest of the board and getting what we do out to campus. And it's a great job, especially if you want to network, if you want to reach people on campus and meet new folks. I've met so many new people and had a chance to forge so many new relationships across campus and across departments. So if you're outgoing and you want to meet people and further your networking on campus, this is a great position. And like Stephen said, if you have any questions, I'll put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to answer any questions. And we hope that you will join us.
Thank you, Kelly. Now we'll move to Vice President of Programs.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jerry Zavara. I'm VP of Programs this year. And the main focus of programs is really to put together this learn at lunch sessions like this one. And I truly feel that, this particular position is really one that, really collaborates with the board a lot. You're really, you're not on your own, basically, right? So I got a lot of help from board members giving me, suggestions on different topics that are really a good way to connect the staff with different events or issues that are important on campus. So for example, we've had, learn at lunch sessions for EDI and safety. And we also did learn at lunch sessions with some of our external partners like Westcom. So it's really a great way to, just share information with staff that you think would be helpful for them. And so, I definitely found it very, very interesting, and I learned a lot through a lot of the learn at lunch sessions. I probably, in terms of, time-wise, I probably spent, between 2 to 3 hours, a week, working on creating the invitations. That's one of the main, responsibilities of the programs is once there's a topic that, we want to put as a learn at lunch sessions, you have to create an Eventbrite invitation and then share that with, some of our colleagues like Creative Productions. I've gotten very close with, Dana. So, and Grace Hubrick, who's out there in the trails. So we miss her. And also digital engagement and information systems and wellness was a great partner this year. So great. I think it's a great position and hopefully somebody is interested in it.
Thank you, Jerry. So now we'll move to a Vice President of Records and Archive.
Hey everyone, this is Gina. So you'll have to forgive me. I don't have my camera on because I'm eating lunch right now. I'm just back to back this afternoon, but I digress. So being in charge of records and archives mean that you basically maintain the digital files for the board. And so we do that in a combo of Google Drive as well as Box. And then you keep track of the roster and you keep track of the minutes and the agendas and things like that. So I would say that in terms of the workload for this position, it's really every other week because you pretty much do the majority of the work when there's a board in a week that there's a board meeting. So you create the, you'll ask for in the Slack channel for information from people about what their updates are. You'll hear from the president and get your agenda, then you send that out to everybody, and then you make sure that they have a copy of the minutes so that they can vote to approve those minutes because the board is run by Robert's Rules of Order. And then you send out the meeting notes to everyone via Slack, which it happens in Google Docs. You send them out afterward, and then you maintain the record so that we can always look back on what has been discussed. So I think that's the gist of the position.
Thank you. Now we'll move to the Vice President of Special Projects.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Binscoter. Thanks so much for being here today. So this role is a really cool one that has a lot of collaboration with the chancellor's resident, most notably Mrs. Block. So Mrs. Block is very passionate about supporting university staff. She herself is a retired university staff member from another institution. So this role really takes place a lot in the second half of the academic year, and it involves a couple of different events. One is a VIP reception and athletic events with Mrs. Block that she opens up to a group of UCLA staff members, and typically there is a reception with maybe some coaches speaking. Mrs. Block gives a talk, and then it's followed by an athletic event. This year we had a women's gymnastics meet. Another activity with Mrs. Block is student recitals. So there are music recitals by UCLA Department of Music students. They are phenomenal. It's a highly selective process to get to perform at these recitals, and it's hosted for staff, followed by receptions. There is also typically, this year we have a little bit of a break due to Mrs. Block's schedule, but typically an outdoors with Mrs. Block session that is focused on partnering with some sort of nonprofit like Heal the Bay to have a day of volunteer work in partnership with UCLA staff and the nonprofit. Other activities that take place that the VP of Special Projects is in charge of is the Emerging Research Speaker Series, where it is a joint seminar that is hosted by Staff Assembly, the Academic Chair, and Vice Chancellor Luby Levin's office. And it really provide staff with the opportunity of getting to learn more about some of the great research being conducted by some of the professors, faculty at UCLA. We do have one this year on May 26th. It is coming up with Professor Lazy Abrego giving a talk. Finally, and most importantly, perhaps the main function of this role is to coordinate all of the staff scholarships and the special awards that go out each year. And this is really where a lot of time is spent. So this role coordinates all Staff Assembly scholarships, the nomination process for that, Chancellor Service Award, Macaulay Award, and the Faculty Staff Partnership Award. All of these events do typically fall starting January on, which means that this role does heavily volunteer and support other areas during the fall. During the fall, I would say my workload was probably a couple hours a week, depending on what other VP I was helping to support at that time. And then in the spring, it's probably closer to about 12 hours a week with all the different activities going on. That does ebb and flow based on how many hands we have on deck for certain things and just availability, but it really is a neat role, and you get to connect with some really amazing people around UCLA in this role.
Thank you, Laura. And now we'll move over to our Vice President of Strategic Communication. Is Amy on with us? All right, so I don't see Amy, so I'll give it a go on describing the role, and anyone else can jump in and fill in any gaps. So the Vice President of Strategic Communication helps organize and put together our newsletter, and also uses MailChimp for the formatting and creation of the content. The newsletter is sent out to about 40,000 staff who are subscribed to receiving the communication. The Strategic Communications VP also partners with other departments to help post content and any content that the board members bring up. We also have partnerships as well, so maintains that communication for any media that we have to put out in our newsletter. The time commitment, it's a very, very regular time commitment. The newsletter is distributed bi-weekly, and there are times when they have to work outside of their normal work hours if there's something important that comes across from campus communications that we need to send out to the staff community. So I'll turn it over for anyone else to fill in any other gaps on this role.
Jess, you did this role before, right? Do you want to say anything about it?
Well, I think Anna mostly covered everything, but I will say like a really great opportunity for this position. If you are like somewhat new to campus or not familiar with too much with different campus departments. This is a really great role similar to outreach where you get to connect with a lot of different folks. And then you also know about pretty much every happening on campus, across campus and with staff assembly. So that was one of the reasons that made me want to do this position. This was the first role I ever held on the board. But you know, it's really great to keep you informed as to what's going on campus. So if you just kind of have an interest in like getting to know staff happenings or just getting to know other folks in different departments, this is a really great role for you to try to pursue. And like Anna said, since everything's in MailChimp and like pre-formatted, you know, you don't need to stress if you don't have a lot of technical abilities, because most of the stuff is set up in templates. So it's really easy to like drop the information. So don't be discouraged if you're like, oh, I don't really know much about StratCom, or I don't really know much about, you know, formatting emails. Like you can figure it out. So it's a great learning opportunity, I would say.
Thank you. And also to help with the content, Amy has developed a form, so a request form for individuals to submit the content along with any images, any graphics. All right, so now we'll move over to the Vice President of Wellness.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Francisca. I'm the Vice President for Wellness at Staff Assembly. Thanks for joining us. So in my role, what I do is I look for ways to improve staff wellness and just kind of support that in different areas. So what I did this year was I worked really alongside with Jerry in creating a lot of Learn at lunches that relates to mental health. We had someone from DEI come, and we also are planning something with nutrition, UCLA Teaching Kitchen. And in addition to that, we also work closely with Seminole Health Campus Initiative. We also have a staff plot in the UCLA garden. So we work alongside with them as well. And in terms of time commitment, I think it varies, but I would say between 1 to 3 hours a week. And, you know, kind of like what everyone has said, it's really what you make of it and really where your passion lies and what you want to do with the position. And I'm also going to, for anyone who's interested and have any questions, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Grace. All right, now we'll move over to the member at large positions. And we have 2 positions there, the campus member at large and the health member at large. So for campus.
Lori isn't here today, but I do see David from the health side.
Yep. Okay, so we'll turn over to David.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Yeah, so I am the health member at large, and I've been in this role for, I would say, the last month and a half or 2. And really, it's an appointed role by the president, and I serve as, I attend the board meetings and conduct any project and assignments that are assigned to me by the president or any committee chairs. And I can also serve on ad hoc and standing committees. I'm a non-voting member. And yeah, I mean, that's, I think, Anna, is there anything else I should add to this?
Yeah, this role, although it's non-voting, it's a very important role because like David is our eyes and ears for the health system and make sure that we continue to advocate for all the health system staff in the same way as Lori does for the campus community as well, you know, letting us know what's going on there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, along with all the other VPs, the campus member at large is going to be a very important role for me to partner up with, since I do not work on the campus side, to help keep me up to date with what's going on, making sure that we represent that side of the UCLA system.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
If I can add something, Anna, regarding the health member at large role. So, you know, in my short time here, I've noticed that I come across some things that are helpful for the rest of the board that I can share. You know, like I recall the last time there was somebody from parking And I had just come across this new policy that I was able to share with others and help others. So in that way, it's nice to have someone from a different area, and also nice to see everyone's perspectives from where they work, and learning from them in that way.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And David, I don't know if I missed this, but your time commitment, how much time do you spend supporting in this role?
Well, it's been such a short time, I feel like. So I really, I would say 1 to 2 hours a week, and it's mainly the meetings that we're in and things like that. Or, but yeah, I haven't had much more time commitment beyond that.
Great, thank you. Right, next we'll move on to the president-elect position. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a 3-year commitment. So you start off as a president in training as the president-elect. You work very closely with the whole board and support the president. You're part of CUCSA, which is the Council of the University of California Staff Assemblies. And the role there is a junior delegate. Once you're president, then you move into the role of senior president. As Joy mentioned earlier, CUCSA helps bring all the UC systems together to advocate for the staff in different leadership committees and make sure we're the voice for staff. We support all major board initiatives, so help support those. And for CUCSA, the time commitment, there are quarterly meetings that are offsite. So if you're interested in being the president, make sure that your supervisor manager is okay with every quarter you being away from the office in minimum 3 days, which are the 3 days of conference, and any travel time. Your expenses are covered by staff assembly, but we just need to make sure that they support your commitment in this role. Also, CUCSA has standing meetings as well, where you might participate in ad hoc committees as you represent as a junior delegate. And I've been in this role since August. It's been a very busy role because I wasn't an active participant in the staff assembly, so I've had a lot of ramp up time. So if you're net new to staff assembly, I do see probably spending 5 hours a week of your time, if not more, depending on whether you participate on a task force. For example, I sit on the threat response task force, which is every Friday for 2 hours. And then we have homework sometimes where we have to review policies and procedures. So that 2 hours has been added on to what I normally do. And I also, in this role, I'm an active participant in events. So we have the music recital series at the Chancellor's that's supported by Mrs. Block. I attend those, and that's, could be a couple of hours of your time during that time frame. But it's been a great opportunity if you're interested in a leadership position, working with senior leadership, advocating for changes. You have the ear of a lot of leaders in this position, an opportunity, along with everybody on the board. All right, now we'll move over to the president role. Joy.
All right, so it's good to be king. That's what they say. So if you're president, that's really cool. And then everyone's like, on your resume, you're saying, oh yes, and I'm president at UCLA, and everyone's like, wow, so fancy. Actually, any of these roles, if you're saying you're a VP at UCLA, that goes a long way for folks. So it's really fun to be in charge of all the things and being able to provide these opportunities. I see my role is helping the whole board thrive. So I'm looking to provide opportunities for everybody to grow, to learn, to succeed, to thrive in their positions, and to be successful in their roles on the board. So trying to do a great job of interfacing with everybody, making decisions if things come up, bubbling up. And so we have the president-elect, president, and immediate past president that will confer on any decisions that need to be made. This position also meets with Luby Levin, the Associate Vice Chancellor for campus HR once a month. So if you want the ear of someone like that, this is a great position. Also sits on some boards with some key leadership folks at UCLA. And then in addition to that, like Anna was saying, this role is currently, it might change, but currently is the senior delegate for CUCSA, the Council of UC Staff Assemblies. So each campus, each UC campus sends 2 delegates to this wider thing. So like Anna was saying, there's the conference 4 times a year that you would be a part of, you would be there. And then in addition to that, every CUCSA delegate is tasked with being on a task force. So Anna is on the one for, remind me, it's the employee engagement survey one. So every 2 years, there's a survey that comes out. You might see it that says, how do you feel about work? And you say, things are good, but they could be better. And then we take that and then do some work on that to improve things for folks. The one that I'm on is for anti-racism, which has been a really fascinating experience. I've heard talk that one of the ones for next year might be something along the lines of unionizing. So that should be an interesting conversation to say, should the rest of UC folks who are not unionized, unionize? If not, what other mechanisms can we put in place to ensure equity among all staff at the UC system? So if you're interested in something at the highest levels, advocating on behalf of staff and ensuring that folks have a great experience as a part of UCLA staff, this is a great role for you. So like Anna was saying, you would start as president-elect and then move into the president role. And then let me kick it over to Jess, our immediate past president, to talk about her experience on that.
Thanks, Joy. Yeah, so if you have made it this far in our presentation, thank you for hanging out with us and for your interest in staff assembly. So you will be running for president-elect. That's the position that's open. But the plan is to have it be a 3-year commitment. So be prepared to stick around for a few years if you are elected to that role. The immediate past president is really an additional support role to the board to be sort of a mentor, to help assist, the presidential team with anything they need, and then also just generally support the board with the historical context, just being an extra volunteer, helping manage the VP roles and making sure all the work gets done. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So, everything we do, although there are like specific positions and roles, we all support each other. And a lot of what we do overlaps, which is really great because you get to work with folks on campus that you might not get a chance otherwise, and you get to know them really well. A unique thing about staff assembly as well is we also really engage like our board alumni, our past presidents. We do this position specifically works a lot with our engagement survey task forces as well. That's another volunteer opportunity. If you're not sure about joining the board as a VP position, you can join an engagement survey task force where you can still volunteer your time and have leadership opportunities. But the immediate past president really oversees that more directly to make sure that we're continuing to look at our survey results and work on the recommendations from prior task forces to actually have these recommendations be realized on campus and create opportunities to benefit all staff. So although it is a long commitment, it is very rewarding. And you really form some great connections with other board members, and it's just a great opportunity to support staff. So if you are interested, don't be discouraged by the 3-year commitment, but definitely do talk to your supervisor and make sure you have release time granted, and that there's also an understanding that you will continue on with the board as president and then as immediate past president as well, because it is really helpful just to have that perspective of having served on the board for a few years and being able to bridge that connection, especially as we're now transitioning back to some version of hybrid events or in-person events being able to bring that institutional knowledge is really helpful. So it's definitely a great leadership opportunity. And we hope that you will submit your name for nomination or submit another fellow colleague who you think might be a great addition for this volunteer opportunity.
Thank you. So thanks to all the board members who have gotten us this far in the presentation. And now we'll move on to what happens next. So if you're interested, a form will be sent out, a formal request for nominations. And as Jess mentioned, you can nominate yourself or someone else. Reminders, it must be a policy covered staff member, which means they're not a union employee, and must have at least 1 year of service at UCLA. Make sure, which is really important, get your manager supervisor approval. It'll make things a lot easier for you to participate in different events. And if you're nominating someone else, make sure you have their approval and commitment as well. Do not surprise them if they get placed on a ballot. All right, and we hope to get the nomination forms out, this month, sometime before the end of the month. And then once we receive the nominations, they will be reviewed and they will be followed with a communication to those of you whose names will be on the ballots. And then if you accept the nomination, your name will be added, and then we'll have the elections to get you started July 1st. And then the last thing here, before we move on to question and answers, is if you haven't already joined any of our social media channels, we have them in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then we also have a website where you could go and learn more about Staff Assembly. Now I'll turn it over to question and answers. So any questions from any of you? And again, thanks to everyone who presented here today. And if you're speaking, make sure to unmute yourselves.
I have a question for some of the folks that joined here today that aren't currently on the board. Does one of these positions particularly interest you? Is there something that you're seeing and you're like, that's the thing for me? I'm gonna call on some people. Donna, do you have any thoughts? Oh, I think she might have left. Let's go to Quenisha.
Hi, good afternoon, Joy, and the rest of the Staff Assembly group. I actually really felt a chord struck with the VP of Wellness. I do a lot of within wellness in my department currently. So I actually during this time have sent an email to Grace. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to prospectively join the team.
Awesome, thank you so much. Let's hear from Belle. Or if Belle's not able to come off mute, feel free to put an answer in the chat as well. How about,
did you want me? I'm sorry, Belle.
Yeah, Belle.
Oh, okay, sorry, it muted for a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was looking particularly at the VP of Creative Production, or what's the other one? Digital engagement, possibly. So it looks, I've got a bit of experience. I doing the managing social media for a large project for my kids' school. We do this big festival every year, which raises about $650,000, and I manage the social media campaign for that. But right now I'm a project manager here at UCLA in their applications development team. So I have a little bit of tech experience, you could say, and could probably help with all of that.
Amazing, that sounds awesome. Well, I'm so excited that you're going to get plugged in. So yes, please feel free to reach out to those folks to hear more about it and see what the differences are between those roles, to see which one sounds like the right fit for you. And Jonah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jonah Lamas. I'm interested in the VP of Programs position. Looks like a lot of fun, and Learn at Lunches are like vital to, I think, the ongoing education of everyone on campus and particularly staff. So
Yes.
thank you.
And that one's particularly close to my heart. That's the one I started in, and I was like, this is a really cool role. Because not only do we work at a world-class institution, that means we've got access to all of these world-class faculty and folks that are the absolute best in their field. And they'll come and do a chat with staff. So it's so cool to be able to interface with those folks, put stuff together on that side of things. So definitely a great position. Okay, cool. Any other questions? Feel free to put stuff in the chat or unmute yourself and ask.
I just wanted to add board meeting commitment. So we meet every other week. I do not plan on changing the schedule because it looks like it works for everyone. And it's on Wednesdays at noon. And it's okay to have your lunch during that call as well. And the way it's structured, there is an agenda, as Gina mentioned. She helps get our agenda together and take the minutes. And each board member will speak to what they're working on or any current initiatives that we have going, and then talk about anything that's up and coming.
And I'm going to put you on the spot and ask an additional logistical question. Yeah. Are these meetings going to stay virtual, be hybrid, or be in person?
Right now, I would start them off, continue via Zoom, virtual. But if there's any interest in a hybrid model, I'm happy to come on campus. I myself work remote, but I do go to campus every Friday, but I'm happy to go in on Wednesday if some of you feel like an in-person meeting works best for you. Happy to do it, but virtual for now.
Awesome, thanks. Oh, one other really fun event that we've got coming up soon-ish on the docket is in August. There's always an all-staff picnic. It has been virtual for the last 2 years because of COVID, but we're hoping to bring it back in person. So this is the one, if you've been to it before, the senior leadership are serving sandwiches and watermelon and everything, and it's a really fun time. So whether or not you usually are virtual, that's a great day to be in person. And if you're interested in being a part of a really great event, whether or not you join the board in an official capacity as a board member, this is a great one to serve on a committee for, to bring that together.
Can I just add something really quick too? So one thing that I did want to mention, with a lot of these positions, like some folks who maybe already do it as part of their day job or enjoy it as a hobby, like maybe that might, interest you in running for a specific VP position, but a lot of folks also join positions that like they've never had experience in that skill set before, and maybe that's like part of their professional development is wanting to learn a new skill, or maybe you just want to try something for fun. So definitely like don't be discouraged to like sign up or like nominate yourself for a position that you're like, oh, I don't really know how to do that, or I maybe have never done that before. It's awesome to try new things. And then the other thing that I'll say is like a lot of these positions, even though we do have signature programs and events, there's a lot of leeway for you to be creative with what you bring to the role, and maybe starting something new or, changing the way we do some of our events and programs. So really, I'll steal a quote that I know Lucy has said many times before: you get out of it what you put into it. So even though there are typical time commitments for a lot of these roles, the more that you want to invest your time and volunteer your time, the more benefits and rewards you get out of it, as a really great experience. So definitely don't be discouraged if you want to, like, you're thinking about trying something new and you're like, I don't know, I've never really done that. Like, throw your name in the hat anyway. And you have a whole team of people supporting you in your position and helping out and like fill the gaps where you might be needing to learn a new skill set. But the benefit of being involved is really great. And then if you're not sure about a VP position, or maybe your supervisor is not really sure about granting you so much release time, you can still be involved in like joining a VP committee or still be involved with that specific position, and maybe you're not necessarily the elected board member, but you're supporting that role. So you're still learning it and you're still getting to participate. And then maybe you run next year. So definitely don't be discouraged from like still getting involved, even if you're not really sure of your capacity to be able to fulfill the VP position. You know, because we always need volunteers, and we, like I said, like we all really support each other and work as a team. So even though you might have a specific role, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be stuck to that role for the whole year, or you can only do those things on the board. We really all work together, and I think it just makes the experience all the more better.
Thank you, Jess. All right, we're almost at time. Any last comments, questions? At work, we say we wait 3 seconds of silence. So for those of you who attended and are interested, I look forward to seeing your nomination forms submitted. And thank you to all the board members that were present here today. And Lucy, thank you so much for joining us as well. All right. Great. So we'll end the call then. Thank you again so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.